Hi everybody, this is Mrs. Dunn. This is the last screencast for this section. And specifically what I want to do here is help you with the transformation of functions, and I want to help you with some of the questions you're going to see in your homework. So we're going to learn how to write the equation of a function given its parent function and its transformations, and we're going to graph functions using the transformations. So just one of the questions you're going to see in your homework is like this. Describe how the graph of the function can be obtained from one of the basic graphs. So here's the equation of our function, and we want to describe what's happening. So for this specific function, you want to know what is the parent function? What is the horizontal shift? What is the vertical stretch or shrink? Is there a reflection? And is there a vertical shift? And you want to record all this. So think about it. Pause the video if you want and see if you can fill in these 5 differences, these 5 transformations. So the first thing is that the parent function is y equals x squared. That comes from this parentheses squared, so you know this is an x squared problem. All right, the next thing, remember, is it shifting left or right? Well, there's a +7 in the parentheses, so it's shifting 7 units to the left. The third thing we're looking for is if there's a vertical stretch or shrink. Well, this 3 on the outside tells us it is vertically stretching by a factor of 3. And what about any reflections? It's reflected across the x-axis. That comes from this negative sign. And lastly, is there any vertical shift? And yes, it is vertically shifted down 4 units. See, every single one of these numbers tells a story. This parentheses squared means that the parent function is y equals x squared. The 7 shifts it 7 units to the left because of this plus sign. The 3 stretches it vertically by a factor of 3. The negative sign reflects it over x, and this -4 shifts it down. Every single number tells us something. Okay, now let's go backwards. Let me give you this description, these 4 transformations. You come up with the equation. Pause the screencast. See if you can come up with the equation. There's no risk here. I don't know if you get the question right or wrong. Give yourself a chance to figure it out. So let me go piece by piece. The parent function is y equals the square root of x. So you should, y equals the absolute value of x. There you go, absolute value. So make sure you have an absolute value of x. It's horizontally shifted 2 units to the right. Did you have a -2? And this is important, people, in the absolute value bars. And then we were told it's reflected across the x-axis. Do you have a negative sign? And then we were told it was vertically shifted up 6 units. So do you have a +6 on the outside? And that's your final answer. Okay, the next thing I want to do is show you how to do these graphs in my math lab. A lot of times students have problems with it. So I want to help you navigate this screen. So this is one of the questions that you have in your homework, but I'm actually going to go to your homework and show you how to do it. Okay, so here's a question from your homework. This is question number 3 from section 2.5. So it says, describe how the given function can be obtained from one of the basic graphs, then graph the function. So we're starting with which graph? What is our parent function? And so the parent function is definitely the quadratic function or the squaring function. So it should say x squared. It is shifted 3 units, which way? Because this is a plus sign, it's shifted to the left. And then it's shifted 2 units down. All right. So that's the first part of the question. So the next part of the question asks us to graph this function. So you're going to click on this, click to enlarge. And unfortunately, I have this squeezed in this little screen here for us. And I am sorry about that. But basically what you're going to do is you're going to pick this squaring tool. And I'm sorry that it's in this crazy screen. But you don't have to look even. You just plop that in there and it's going to draw it in there. What we're interested in is this menu that's going to show up. Now, you've picked the right picture, which is the U, because we know it's a squaring function. Now, we're going to work inside out, kind of like PEMDAS. You know, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Work inside and then outside. So the first thing we're going to do is shift it 3 units to the left. That is a horizontal shift, 3 units to the left. So I have to make sure I do the horizontal shift first. And notice when I click on this that it is showing -3. That's shifting it to the left 3. Then we're going to vertically shift it down 2. So I'm going to slide this bar down 2. I'll save that answer and it draws the graph in there. And then we'll check it. You got to make sure you do it in that order. So if you're getting an error message, make sure you're doing the horizontal shift before you do the vertical shift. Okay, the next kind of question I want to go over with you is a question like this. We don't have a picture of the graph. We don't have an equation. But we know that the point 5, -7 is on the graph of f of x. So the question is, what point would be on the graph of f of x plus 6? Well, this plus 6 is in the parentheses. That's shifting my graph to the left 6 units. So if my graph is shifting to the left 6 units, I'm going to subtract 6 from x. So the x value is 5, and 5 minus 6 is -1. So the point on the graph would be -1, -7. Try another one. What point would be on the graph of 4 times f of x? You want to give it a guess? Well, look and see. 4 is on the outside. The graph is stretched vertically by a factor of 4. So we're going to multiply y by 4. So the point should be 2, -28. So 4 times -7 is -28. Okay, here's another one. So the point 5, -7 is on f of x. So what point would be on the graph of f of x plus 1? Where's that 1? It's on the outside. That's going to be a vertical shift. It's shifting it up 1. That's changing the y value. So we're going to add 1 to y. So that point would be 5, -6. All right, good job. One more question I want to show you. Okay, the last question I want to go over, there's quite a few questions at the end of the homework, starting around question number 11. And it talks about the graphs of these functions. So you're supposed to find the graph of -3 times f of x. So this is the graph of f of x. What happens with -3? Well, let me help you with that. The negative sign does what? That reflects it. Remember, it's going to reflect it over the x-axis. So you're going to look for one that's upside down. And what does the 3 do? That stretches it by a factor of 3. I want to urge you to watch this screencast. This is a screencast made by Pearson, but it's pretty good, and it will help you with the rest of these questions. So that screencast is found in your homework. Make sure you watch it. All right, that's all I got for you. Good luck. Email me with any questions.